I would love to give you all of those things if you'd be interested in being the presenting sponsor. So the price tag there would be 15 grand.
And that includes the 2,500 commitment too?
Yep. Good morning. Today is a big day. I am feeling nervous because I have a call later with a brand who I'm going to pitch on sponsoring my in-person event, Sponsor Games, in 2026. They actually sponsored the event last year, but it's not a guarantee that they're going to sponsor the event again. So I somehow have convinced them to let me record the call. So the stakes are kind of high because I almost lost a bunch of money last year on the event. A lot is riding on this. I don't know what to do. All right, so let's talk about the game plan. So there's 3 things that I'm going to do to prepare for this call. The first is that I'm going to go back and look at what was my last interaction with this brand. I'm going to go look at our email thread, if I was messaging the brand on social media, which I was. The second thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of research of what it seems like maybe some priorities for them into next year. So I'm going to look at their website. I'm going to look at their social media. The last thing I want is for them to bring something up on the call that seems like a huge initiative, and I have no idea what they're talking about. The third thing that I want to do is I'm going to go back and review the post-campaign report that I put together for last year's Sponsor Games. The moment that you wrap up a campaign with a brand, you need to put together a report illustrating both the quantitative and qualitative results of that collaboration and hopefully pitch them on the next engagement or the next extension of that partnership. I'm still trying to decide whether I'm going to pitch or propose something live on the call. Usually what I recommend is just treat the call as a data gathering exercise and then say, okay, I'm going to get back to you with the proposal. But you know what? I think I might YOLO on this call because Matt and I have a pretty good relationship and I think he might be ready for me to just pitch him live on the call. I don't know. I got to think how I'm going to do that. But first things first, I got to go back and review our last interaction. Okay, so looking back here, on April 9th, I sent Matt and Haley pictures from the event and the videos that we created. So the pictures, it just turned out awesome. We have tons of pictures from the welcome party, and then we also got them separate photos from of them. So here's me and Matt on stage in front of the Sponsor Games sign. But then we also created these videos that again actually weren't part of the agreement necessarily or contracted deliverables, but they just turned out amazing. And in response to that, Matt said, "These are so good. Thank you all." Sent him a handshake gift back. And then 2 weeks later, sent our post-campaign report, which included, again, all the stats from the promotion that we did, my testimonial, and so on. Now I'm going to shift to researching what's going on with Lulu. So looking at seeing if there's any promos they're running. It doesn't seem like there is. I'm going to go to Lulu's Instagram to see what they're talking about. So they're promoting the Content Entrepreneur Expo. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Matt's LinkedIn and I kind of want to take a look at some of the recent posts that he's made. All right, this is a good one. I think I might bring this up on the call. 2 months ago, he said, "The 10 taco theory." Them. "Matt, why are you so hyped about print on demand all the time?" Me. "For creators, print on demand collapses 3 of the scariest barriers to entry into predictable per unit costs: capital, inventory risk, and logistics. I definitely was thinking about that when I was making my book. Instead of betting $10,000 on a pallet of merch like hoodies, books, whatever, you invest an evening refining a design and a sample order that costs less than a 10-pack of tacos. That calculus rewires entrepreneurship from speculative to experimental. Every creator reading this post can test 10 ideas for the historical cost of 1. The 10 taco theory." That's a great one. All right, so now I'm going to go back and review the post-campaign report that I put together just to get a refresher of what I included in this, because this was a couple months ago. So just looking at the goals that I had outlined from the initial collaboration, one of the coolest things was that one of our attendees, Doc Williams, put together this presentation that he sent us, which was here is how I am using the sponsors of your event. And so we were able to use these in our post-campaign reports, which was just incredible. One thing I think it'd be worthwhile for you to check out is the testimonial that I actually created for them. Well, hey there, Matt and Haley and Sarah. I just wanted to record this quick video to say thank you. Quite literally, Sponsor Games would not have happened were it not for your support, or at least I would have lost a massive amount of money. Just keeping it real here. Honestly, the fact that y'all not only supported me in this event, but also came, and Matt, you especially being on the sponsor tank. It just made it the whole thing so special. And you can probably appreciate, like, this has been a dream of mine for over a decade to create an event like this. And for y'all to kind of step up, like kind of unexpectedly, to be honest, really, really made it so that we could ensure that the experience that everyone had, you know, was phenomenal. And honestly, like, y'all will forever hold a special place in my heart. We are bonded now because of this. But honestly, just y'all's continued advocacy for the creator community is unmatched. And I truly hope that we can continue working together, you know, from here on out, because I'm just so obviously such a big fan of the business in general, but just for y'all as humans as well. So anyways, again, thank you. So what do you think of that? You know, one of the reasons I love doing testimonials for them is that, you know, this report that you put together is most likely going to be shared with their colleagues, or if it's an agency, it's going to be shared with their client. And holy cow, are they going to remember that person that made that testimonial talking about how much they loved working with their brand? You better believe it. All right, it's a moment of truth, less than an hour before my call, and I need to figure out what I'm going to pitch them. Am I going to charge them the same amount as last year? Am I going to ask them for a larger investment? I don't really know, but we'll see. Yeah, dude, how are you? You just got back from New York, yeah?
I got back from New York, yeah, from the Partner Stack affiliate conference, and we're already like crazy planning, getting ready for CEX. You know how that goes.
Oh yeah.
It's always something, but it keeps it exciting. And sorry, as you can see, it also keeps me from cleaning my desk.
Were you guys sponsoring the Partner Stack event, or just like going to
No,
check
and
it
in
out?
fact, you know, believe it or not, actually, you know this, we don't have an affiliate or partner program in place. Lulu's just never done that. We've always just freely passed traffic from us to other people and didn't expect. But it was clear it was time to do that. In this, you know, economy, this creator economy, people like LaShonda, for example, first thing out of their mouth is, "Do you got an affiliate program we can?" And we're like, "No." She's like, "Well, I'll still send traffic your way." And so it was finally time to do it. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many opportunities there I think we're missing, and it's low-hanging fruit for us.
What was the reason that you guys hadn't done an affiliate program to date? Was it like
Again,
strategic or just not priority?
Strategic is probably generous. Before I got to Lulu, there wasn't one. When I got to Lulu, at the time I came to Lulu in 2016, I was very focused. They brought me in as a growth hacker. And so my focus was on doing things in a very lean way, which you would think would include affiliate to a degree. But I was told in the beginning, like, because of the way affiliate and the Lulu model sort of didn't really sync well in terms of, we only make money when a book is printed. So if somebody registers, paying out an affiliate on a registration really does nothing for us. They didn't want to do it. And so we set up a partners page where we would put people on there that we vetted, and we would just let them have the traffic for free. We were like, screw it. And we operated that way forever because we doubled down on things like events and technology and stuff. And that's one of the last few key components of our marketing mix that just isn't there, and there's much better tools. So it's just do it, you know.
The reason that I was digging in right here with Matt about why they're launching an affiliate program now, or like maybe why they didn't have one in the past, is because it sounds like this is a shift. There's a new strategy that they're employing. There's more creators, there's more authors, there's more publishers asking for an affiliate program. And that, you know, Lulu has been around for a long time. And so they're finally deciding to start a program. And so, you know, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is something I want to tie in to the event sponsorship when I get to that point in the conversation. But yeah, dude, obviously excited to chat about sponsor games, and but first though, would love to just kind of hear, like, what does y'all's roadmap look like for into next year, priorities? Obviously, when we first spoke about the event last year, it kind of came up opportunistically that you guys ended up supporting it, and of course, like, I've expressed my appreciation a lot, I think, for that. But like, I don't know, would love to hear kind of like how you thought the event went. Obviously, your team attended, which was amazing.
Yeah, I don't know if this is pertinent or not, but I'll say that for us, the way that we kind of build out our roadmap and budget for the next year, we usually do that around November. And so, like you said, the opportunity for sponsor games came in well after the budget cap. Obviously, knowing you, having worked with you already, understanding that it's a first year event, but again, knowing you, we knew there was going to be some value there. Like you were going to do whatever it took to make sure people left with some value. And quite frankly, to me, that's a big part of the ROAS, if I can use a stupid marketing buzz term, right? Like, the return on my spend with that event, at least what I thought going into it would be people are going to leave that event feeling like they've gotten a lot of value out of it. And they're going to remember the brands that were associated with it. And I just remember thinking like, yeah, this is out of budget. But again, I'm willing to take the risk for that, because if Lulu is associated with sponsor games and people left that event feeling, really charged with value, really hyped to go to the next level, really hyped to go in and try to bring in some money to support their creative efforts, they're going to tell other people about it. And again, Lulu's associated with that, or would be associated with that. And so that really was the impetus for why we decided like, okay, let's talk some pricing here. But at the end of the day, it was a no-brainer for me to take a risk on that event. And I think the return was there.
So when I heard this, I was like jumping for joy inside, because I think that this is like the dream for every creator, is to like work with a sponsor who gets this, right? It's not always just about the clicks or the views or the sales that you generate. There's this almost like halo effect that's generated of like positive brand association, especially when he was kind of rolling the dice on a first year event. He didn't really know what it was going to be like, but he had an existing relationship with me, having sponsored other things in the past. And so he knows that like everything I do is like, I want it to be very high quality. And so the fact that he was willing to have this broader perspective about what the partnership would mean just like meant everything to me.
We're still working on the quantifiable ROAS there, right? Like, there were some codes that we use and some things like that. But at the end of the day, I've had multiple conversations with people after the fact about sponsor games. And for me, that's the return there for the amount of money spent. Like, it wasn't a lot this first go around. So,
I mean, this is for most creators, I think that's like the dream, is like to work with a partner who has a broader vision about what a partnership could look like. And so again, like I super appreciate your holistic perspective on that. And it's funny, I was actually just before this call, I was taking a look at some posts that you had made on LinkedIn recently. And the one that resonated with me was your 10 taco theory. Which was like back in the day when my wife and I, for example, started a merch line, there was like a huge capital risk that we had to outlay to, like, we made an apron line for her, and we had to like spend a ton of money, find a manufacturer, create the product, purchase inventory.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, what you were talking about on there really resonated with me in terms of like, there is this kind of new age for like a lot of creators where they can significantly de-risk bringing new products to market, especially something like a book, where they don't have to purchase pallets of books to actually be able to fulfill to their audience, which I know is like near and dear to your heart.
Yeah, you'll love the book that I'm about to release on October 1st.
Oh, really?
It's exactly that. Like, this would have been the playbook that you and your wife would have loved to have when you were starting that. I'm going to rope you in as a beta reader now that I know that you have some experience in that arena as well.
Yeah, good.
I'm
stoked.
Profit on demand.
Profit on demand. That's exciting. Well, congrats, man. So what I would love to do is I want to share my screen, because I would love to kind of just step through the post-campaign report that we put together after the event. As we page through this, if we move to page 3, so we talked about the goals. Page 3 was like the added value assets that we created. So I know one of the things that y'all did with the footage that we generated, or the interview that we did on stage, was you used some of that to promo CEX.
That's right.
And so curious, like, was this something that you found value in? Like, it was kind of like an unexpected thing that we did, but curious your thoughts there.
One of the things that we did like the most was the fact that when you sent over the campaign summary, or the event summary and all of the other stuff that went along, we had some of these clips that obviously were a different perspective and filmed a different way and came from a different angle and included obviously your take on some things. And that's not something my team can necessarily create internally. Like, my marketing team couldn't do this. So that was an extra set of resources that we were able to use, assets that made it for us a lot more fun. But it also, I think, as a brand, that's my goal when I do partnerships with people like you, is like, yeah, my team can go out there and create assets every day, and we do. But there's a level of trust that comes, a higher level of trust, if somebody comes across an asset, even if it's on our channel, that was created by somebody else, that's showing value, that's talking about value, that's expressing a concept or something like that. Whereas it's like, okay, that's not Lulu, like, just, polishing their own trophy, right? This is this other person. This is Justin Moore. This is whoever. Yeah, there was a lot of value in the assets you sent over. I appreciated that. That's a big part of it.
I knew it. I knew that they loved these video assets assets that we created for them because we gave them the raw files. They sent it to their videography team. They edited it. They put their own captions, their own, branding, colors, and all that. And so I really wanted to emphasize, we're going to do that again for you.
Did you, knowing that, have you ever done any amplification campaigns, like Allowlisting campaigns, where you basically put additional ad dollars behind assets that your partners posted?
Yes. Sorry. So there's been a couple of cases where we've done that to a small degree. It's something we want to do more of because when we went back and looked at some of the numbers from when we did try that, including I think we did a very small dollar amount on a few of the assets that we got from yours. The response and engagement rates were better than some of the in-house created assets that we've put a lot of money behind.
So this was a gem that I learned, which is that the assets that they posted on their platforms performed better than the ones that they created themselves. Interesting.
Which work well, but again, I think based on the same concepts I just said, getting that in front of more audiences through a paid channel is key. So I'm looking forward to that. And as we build out our events roadmap, I think some of the things we'll be discussing will be that, of the people we could work with in 2026, how many of them are going to do things like this? Like if we pay, let's say a $15,000 sponsorship to somebody, let's say it's you, can we expect to get back these types of assets that will turn into long-term flywheel content for us? Yeah, that $15,000 up front, I'm going to get these things, but I'm going to know, my team's going to know that they're going to be able to take some of that content and repurpose it for the whole year. And that saves us time, that saves us money, that saves us resources in other areas.
Okay. The moment that Matt said $15,000, I was like, oh my God, I have in this proposal $7,500. I was like, wait, is he saying that they would spend $15,000 on me?
So yeah, I think we're going to do more of it, but to be completely candid and honest, we only started playing around with that this year in 2025, and it was after we realized hey, people like their stuff more than they like ours. So, we'll put the ego on the table. Let's pull the wallet out. Let's figure this thing out, right?
All right, we got to talk about this because it seems like Lulu has never done Allowlisting or boosting, which means that I would actually make a sponsored post on my platform and then I would give them advertiser access to boost it on the back end. And so look, they've been in business a really long time, but it seems like they've never done something like that. So here's where I'm leaning into the kind of the consultant mindset of hey, here's a way for you to really extend the mileage of this partnership.
I mean, just to split hairs a bit here, I do think that there is a significant performance difference between putting paid dollars behind not just amplifying that content that someone else created on your own channels, but if I were to have posted that on my platform, I mean, me granting you advertiser access to my account on Instagram or TikTok or something, and actually putting the paid dollars behind the asset that lives on my account. So when someone's scrolling the feed, it shows up under my handle as promoted from your brand.
To my knowledge, we've not done any of that. No.
So, I mean, to me, that would be something to test. If you are seeing a noticeable improvement in terms of engagement, clicks, and so on, even with the assets on your own channels, probably something we should test would be hey, let's actually let me post these and then you boost it.
Yeah, that sounds a lot more appealing. I'm going to hope that my social media manager knows what you're talking about. I did not realize that was an option.
And the good thing is that you can mess with all the targeting too. So this can go out to different geographies. It can go out to different age targeting. So beyond the people that are just following me.
Let's talk about that further at some point, because that would be of great interest to me. Not to sound crass or exploitative, but as a brand these days, the goal is I need some of that trust you've built with your audience, right? Like I said earlier, and that sounds like a much better and easier way to get some of that. So
yeah. No, for sure. I mean, this is obviously this whole thing is very meta because sponsorships is what we teach and all that. But as part of this, I would be thrilled to be able to provide some advice on the best way to get, as you said, a better ROAS from this whole partnership, right? Cool, man. All right, so moving on to the next slide, which was just kind of how we approached branding. Well, how did you feel about, we had a little bit of tabling, there was, obviously signage throughout the event, but I don't know, what do you usually think of? Do you like tabling? Is that something that you would be interested in again? Or I don't know, how do you think that's usually valuable when you're part of an event?
As a brand, or again, for us, like I said, the goal with this event specifically, but in a lot of other events too, depend on the size, right? So the size of the event is where signage, I think, matters most. For an event of your size and all the way up to, let's just say, 300 to 400 attendees, I do think it's important because it's about name recognition, like I said. So we might not get to talk to everybody at the event, and we won't. We might not actually get to get a spot on stage or a microphone to be able, and that's okay too sometimes. But if people see the logo enough, if they hear it talked about by the organizer or somebody else, and they go away from that event and there's that name recognition, that's what I'm looking for. Or we pay close attention to the agreements and the contracts when it comes to the idea of signage and where our logos are going to appear, where in the building that's going to be, like what breakout sessions might our logo appear on, on the screen or in the event notebook or things like that. But as you scale up past 300-400 attendees, honestly, we found that becomes a little less important. You have to start focusing on other more niche ways to get your logo and your brand name in front of the attendees.
Do you find value, or have you done this in the past, where you sponsored specific things at an event? So for example, like you sponsored a welcome party, and you paid for the drink tickets, or you sponsored like the lanyard or whatever. As you know, like we didn't really do much of that last year as our first year event. Frankly, I was trying to be different, and I was like, I'm not going to do the things that normally people do. But like, do you find value in stuff like that? Because it is something that we're considering, because we have had other sponsors ask, hey, can we like sponsor a lunch or like whatever?
Yeah, I think I can give you a slightly elevated perspective here. Elevated's the wrong word, but as somebody who's attended a lot of conferences, who spoke at a lot of conferences, who sponsored a lot of conferences, and who also puts on a conference, I can tell you that some of those things I think do add value for a sponsor. And then I feel like some of those things end up being a little more of a cash grab. They don't return the value or the spend there. But I do think there's some level of value and importance in being able to sponsor certain aspects of a conference, right? Not just a spray and pray. Like, let me get that lanyard sponsorship, or you had a prize wheel there, like maybe let me get on that prize wheel next time, whatever that might be, right? Like, I do think there's value in finding very specific strategic ways to get my logo, my brand on aspects of your conference. One thing that's super important to me at a conference is really good coffee. And you've had it. You're one of the only ones that's ever done it. And I'll tell you, this might come up later, the only way I'm coming back is if you have that coffee cart or a good coffee cart. But what I was going to say is, you took it an extra step, like you do with everything. When I would get my lattes every morning, because, I'm a fancy boy and I need a latte with oat milk, on the top was a little logo of Creator Wizard or, sponsor games. And that was the coolest thing. And yes, it's only there for a second before I down that so I could become a human again. But I would have loved to have been able to be like the foam sponsor on your lattes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because
Ooh.
Okay, my mind is blown right now. How cool of an idea. Matt wants to sponsor the foam, be the exclusive foam sponsor of sponsor games. Like, my reaction when I heard this was like, I can't believe I never thought of that. Like, obviously we've got the sticker of the sponsor games logo on the side of the cup, but like, yeah, why not be able to sell the foam sponsor? Like, okay, my mind is spinning right now.
That is something that people are going to snap a photo of, put it on Instagram, put it on LinkedIn. They're going to go tell their friends. Those moments where you leave a conference and you go, man, that was dope. They had this thing where whatever, my logo was on the foam, or like, I do like the ability to almost a la carte. Okay, sell me a basic sponsorship, fine. It comes with a booth, whatever. Let me a la carte the things that I want, man, and get creative with it. That's, again, true partnership to me.
As he's talking, I'm trying to think, okay, like, how am I going to pitch this at the very end? Because he's maybe interested in sponsoring the lanyard, maybe the badge, maybe even the welcome party, clearly the foam. What am I going to do?
Dude, that is such a sick idea. And
as I sip on my boring latte.
Okay. I love to hear that you were stoked about the foam. So we'll talk about that in a second. As we move to the next slide here, one of the things I thought was I was so appreciative of was your participation in the sponsor tank. So of course the sponsor tank we had 8 finalists who came almost like Shark Tank style, came up, made a pitch, and we have a lot of ideas about how we can improve this format for the next year. One thing in particular is that we do want to design more back and forth. Shark Tank is much more, especially like it's much more kind of a back and forth thing where it's just like, tell me about this. And then they are able to think on their feet, which is really what happens more in real life when you're in a negotiation with a sponsor. It's much more of a back and forth forth thing. So that's one example of something that we're trying to do. Another thing, and I'm curious your thoughts here, is that we want to design into the programming interaction with the sponsors during the event too. So imagine, for example, there be some sort of like almost like speed dating slot where it's like, okay, groups, ABC or yellow, red, blue, you go back and talk to Matt and we're going to talk about XYZ. And then these people go over to here. Because I do think a big value of like this event is like actually getting to be able to talk to brands about like what they're thinking about, what's on their roadmap. How does that idea jive with you?
I like that. I think because you're very particular about who you're going to bring into your event, I think that works. You're not going to bring some brand into your event where nobody's really going to want to sit down and talk to them. And if they do, it's just going to be lip service because either it's a product or service that they can't use, or you want to avoid cash grabs at all costs, which is hard sometimes when you're doing an event and you need that money. I get it. And yeah, you're right. That one-on-one with a small group of people, or one-on-one specifically, and it's kind of speed dating style. Each person gets 10 minutes. We're having a coffee, 10 minutes, answering questions, and on to the next, whatever that format is. Yeah, I do think those are very valuable for the most part. Working backwards to the sponsor tank thing, to me, that was, so I told you there were basically two things that really pushed me forward on your event. The second one was this ability to sit on a very small curated panel of people and to be able to provide feedback in real time around their sponsor pitches, what they were doing, to me was invaluable to a degree. That's me and my brand being able to take another opportunity to show the value that we hope to bring to the journey of that particular creator, right?
It was so validating hearing how much he valued being one of the judges on the sponsor tank. I was just wondering, like, would the sponsors be into that? Is that something they would want to do again? But it seems like allowing him to be able to kind of flex his expertise with a big spotlight on him and the brand was like a really valuable thing. And so absolutely something that I want to double down on.
What do you think about the idea of allocating dollars towards sponsoring the event that wouldn't go to us, but would be earmarked for attendees at the event to forge deals? So you say, okay, you're going to spend X $1,000s to sponsor the event, but a couple $1,000s of this is going to be earmarked for 1 to 3 creators that you meet at the event. And like, this is like maybe there's like some sort of, ceremonial term sheet, one pager where it's like, we're going to intend to like collaborate and handshake on it. And that would be obviously something really cool for us to market as part of the event. Yep. Like, there's brands who are actually looking to partner with creators here. What do you think of that idea?
I love that idea. I think, again, as somebody who puts on events, to me, like, I'd be stoked to do that for my attendees. That extra carrot you can dangle where if I'm a creator and I'm thinking about attending sponsor games, there's the possibility that not only, do I go and I get all this value that's going to help me move forward in my business and bring more money into my business so that I can keep creating, but I might actually walk away with a cash sponsorship in hand from a brand that I know that Justin has curated. What I would say is, for me as a sponsor, what would make that the ultimate, right, would make it a no-brainer for me to sign off on that too, was that there was some heavy facilitation on your part as to who gets that money and how much of it. And I'm already there as a sponsor. I've got stuff going on. I've got my booth. I've got other things, hopefully, that I'm doing, right, like speaking or doing whatever. That adds an element of work complexity for me if I'm also in charge of, I've got to listen to 30 pitches and then I've got to decide which one gets my $3,000 or whatever that might be, right? If you're somewhere in the mix or you have a team of people in the mix that are there helping with that so that I have some part in that, but not full facilitation, I'm going to feel better about saying, yep, add that one to my sponsorship too. I want to do that as well.
If you move to the next slide, one thing I just wanted to call out, which I thought was pretty cool, is that Doc, who was one of our attendees, actually sent us a deck. He's like, here's how I'm using your sponsors now that I know about them. And so that was kind of a cool little touch to kind of maybe, I don't know what you thought of that, but I thought it was cool that he took the initiative to do that.
This is one of the things I was talking about. We don't run like a performance marketing team. You know what I mean? It's not strictly about numbers and formulas and algorithms. It's, something like this to me, like for the amount of money that we invested for that first year in sponsor games, if I saw a couple of these, and again, I talked to other attendees afterwards, but when I see something like this for me, for what we do, to be able to have somebody who's going to use our service, who knows how long, maybe in perpetuity, who knows? Maybe they only do one book. Maybe they do a series of workbooks for their courses. Maybe like you, they put out this groundbreaking, like one big book that's just, a big part of what they do. But regardless, to me, that's a huge return on my spend. For me, it's just that social proof. I could turn around and take this or reach out to Doc and say, hey, let's do something together, man. How about you do a little bit more of this content for us and let us use this as UGC? Or like you said, this idea that, we partner with him on his channels. And to me, that's a massive part of where I calculate my return.
Let's skip ahead in the post-campaign report to slide 16, which is the partnership extension proposal, because obviously we would absolutely love to have you support the event again in 2026. We had, obviously we've talked about some additional things on this call. And so I had marked the investment at basically the same level as last year, even though we are probably doubling attendee headcount, mainly because I wanted to, just acknowledge the support that you had given us in the first year. Although I did add this $2,500 commitment as well to potentially sponsor, 1 or 2 Sponsor Games 26 attendees. And so this would basically be the same, very similar deliverables to last year in terms of the content and the email blasts and, signage at the event and so on. But in addition to that, because we talked about it, would love to have you be the exclusive foam sponsor of Sponsor Games 26. And if you're open to it, potentially sponsoring one of our, maybe the welcome party, the opening dinner, or maybe the dinner prior to the sponsor tank on the night before. So what is your thought process on supporting the event next year? You had thrown out a number of like $15K that you want to throw over to us, but I'm definitely can add some stuff to this package if you're open to that.
Well, you're doing 2 things that are really smart right now. Number one, obviously, and you always do a good job of this, you're listening to what I'm saying, what I'm asking for, what works for me. We so often work with people who don't. It's like, here's my 3 package options, take your choice. And usually my choice is 0. Have a good day. Thank you. But to be direct, yes, on the 7,500 for what's listed there.
Okay, he's on the hook for the 7,500. Now, can I pivot and upsell this and ask for more?
The 2,500, I'd have a question of, so when you say sponsor an attendee, what does that actually look like? What does that mean? And is it almost like, back in the day, you could sponsor a child in wherever, right? Like those commercials that were always on TV. Does this person, do they get to be like the Lulu person that we sponsored? What's your vision of this? Because just saying 2,500 to sponsor an attendee, that's real ambiguous and broad, right?
So I think to your point, we would facilitate what those deliverables would look like, probably as part of this. So we say, okay, Lulu is committing to spend $2,500 to sponsor, let's say, 1 creator at the event. And obviously it kind of depends on does this person have 1 million followers, or do they have 5,000 followers, or what platform are they on? And so it's TBD. And so the goal would be maybe we would be in there helping facilitate that negotiation live. So we would say, hey, we've got the 2,500. What's a fair thing? What's a fair set of deliverables? And maybe this is something we do live on stage or something, right? Where we're let's kind of go back and forth, and you're sitting up there with the attendee and you're kind of hashing it out. And the 2,500 is the carrot, and you just kind of negotiate it in real time, and I'll be up there kind of facilitating.
So again, maybe further discussions around, would it make sense for it to be 2,500 cash, or would it make sense to be a publishing package or something like that?
Right.
Fine with all that.
Okay.
Then the next question I would have is, where's your a la carte sheet? Let me know what I can pick and choose from. You know what I mean? I would love to see that, because there are things like you just said, like the foam. Let me get first shot at sponsoring that thing, right? Like that coffee and whatever else you decide that you're gonna. If you've not already fleshed a lot of these out, I'm sure they're. I think lanyard sponsorships are worth it to a degree, depending on how they're priced. We do the same thing for our event. I think, badge sponsorships. I think there are places where you can strategically put somebody's logo that will live on past the physical event of those 2 or 3 days. And again, it's recognition. And so understanding for your event where those opportunities are and what the fair value, price for that would be is important.
So I had this in my back pocket because I wanted to hear what you had to say before I floated this, but I would love to give you all of those things if you'd be interested in being the presenting sponsor.
And what is the price tag there?
So the price tag there would be $15,000, and it would include the foam sponsorship. It would include sponsoring the welcome dinner. It would include the badge lanyard, or the lanyard logo, and also being the presenting sponsor on the badge.
And that includes the 2,500 commitment too?
Yep.
Okay.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it.
Dude, let's go. Let's go. I had to break out the sound effect. Dude, I'm so excited. Let's go.
This will be fun.
Well, today has been a very good day. Just locked in a presenting sponsor for Sponsor Games 2026. And I only have one question. Are you going to be there?